See, it's not doing this to you, so it doesn't exist. No, there's a definition for what it meant, and it does normalize hate. So we're not asking people to like you, we're just asking you to at least be respectful. There's plenty of people I don't like. There's plenty of things that I don't like, right? But I know I can at least be respectful, right?
Wait, I'm gonna read you that.
All right. So Gothix says hate speech does not exist. Let's see.
I decided I wanted to talk about a little bit of a touchy subject. I'm assuming it's touchy because whenever I tweet about this topic in particular, I get a lot of angry responses, and I want to address some of them. A few days ago, I posted something online that said the following: hate speech, especially in the context of racism, transphobia, sexism, etc., is a myth. The consequences of hate speech, not threats, are hurt feelings. Therefore, your options are to suck it up, as I do every time I get hate online, or have an oppression measuring contest.
Okay, so let's pause. What exactly is hate speech? FD signifier was that dude's name. Hate speech. Definition. Abusive or threatening speech or writing that expresses prejudice against a particular group, especially on the basis of race, religion, or sexual orientation. I feel like I should just stop reacting to this video now.
Now, obviously, this sparked a lot of criticism. A lot of people weren't happy with this, and I hear you, I understand, but I'm going to help you out. And I think the first part of this is understanding that we have to move away from this idea that everything that is intended to be good for you, everything that's intended to be helpful and coming from a good place, needs to be packaged in a nice and cuddly, cushy way with some glitter and a bow on top. That's not me. Sometimes the things that you need to hear will hurt your feelings. But once your feelings are fine, you're good. So, let me start. Hate speech doesn't exist. It's a myth. It is a farce. It is a lie. It is a term made to keep you weak, to keep you mentally fragile. And
that sounds really dumb. So, like, I guess just because, like, I don't know, you can know the intention of what this word is, right? Like we know what hate is, and we know what speech is, and like we obviously recognize that words can be harmful, and so we just like colloquialize the phrase around specific types of harmful speech. How do you know what the purpose or intention was for that like colloquial usage? That sounds really stupid.
I say this because I am someone that constantly gets vitriol in my comments all day, every day, from people that like to prop themselves up as being a champion against white supremacy. I am a black ally. I am this person and that person. I'm an activist. I'm going to help save the world. But then they don't have the self-reflection to see that they're being completely disgusting in my comment section. So let me just start off with that. I get hate all day, every day. And cancel culture, and specifically, was one of those instances where I got so much hate and so much vitriol nonstop on all of my social media platforms that experience actually calloused my mind a little bit. And, well, I wouldn't say a little bit. It calloused my mind a lot, to the point that now, because it happened so often, it was almost like a training exercise for me, where after I just kept getting pulverized nonstop, you're anti-black, you hate yourself, you're ugly, you're self-hating, you're fats. You know, I don't get it all the time, but sometimes someone will call me fat. I guess I do have a nice double chin. But the point is, I get a lot of hate, and after a while, you realize.
Do I got a double chin?
The only thing that's wrong with these interactions is that I am putting so much weight onto these words.
Y'all see that double chin?
Making me regress and making me cower away and cry and be depressed and anxious. And,
I can't tell.
That is what I learned about this idea of hate speech. Hate speech, at the end of the day, is still speech. There are still, figuratively, taking a piece of paper, writing hate words on it, and throwing it at your forehead. That's all it is. It's like, oh, that hurt. But then you get over it and you move on. I have known lots of people that have,
sure.
You know, especially...
I guess maybe some of the argument is that, like, oh, why is this video so quiet? I didn't know I had it this way. Is that hate speech can, like, do a lot of harmful things, right? Like, I guess one of the biggest problems with hate speech is that It further stereotypes, which of course can result in real world harm. For example, if we like normalize like referring to black people as like less than human or something, or as animals, then that means now that that can like translate into like hiring practices and things like that. So it seems like there's more to it. It seems like there's more to it than that, and I don't know. Like there's reasons why we would say like hate speech is problematic.
Being on the, if you want to call it the right side of politics or the conservative side of politics. I don't label myself, that's just what people say I am. But I know a lot of people on this side who are trans, who are black, who are gay, who are blah, 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 blah.
Oh, she just has a problem with words. So even if she's clearly conservative, but she doesn't like to label herself. That's always annoyed me when people. I don't label myself. When you try to ask, like for example, you're asking Raven Simone like what her sexuality was. I don't like labels. I'm just like nigga, we have labels for a reason. That's how we help categorize them. I is a label for yourself. Then when she said, "Oh, I'm from she said continent, but she meant country in Europe, right?" Or in Africa, or maybe. No, I think it was in Europe. It's like, those are labels. Why? Like, we have to label all we label everything. We label a name. A label is just a name that, like, helps to express an idea about something. It doesn't have to be, like incredibly strict, but we use labels for a reason. She engages in the usage of labels. The frick are you talking about? Come on, it's so stupid.
They all fit into their own identity, political group, and these people receive so much
speech is the first step to normalizing discrimination
on the daily from others who claim to want to help these people. Oh yeah, I'm a trans activist. Meanwhile, you'll go under Blair White's video and call her all kinds of nasty names, right? Oh yeah, I'm an anti-racist. Meanwhile, you go over here. You get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. So the point that I'm trying to make is,
wait. You can be a trans activist and then go and go to like Blair White's video and hate her on the merits of the content of her video. Now, if you're claiming to be a trans activist and going to Blair White's videos and hating her on the merits of her being trans, that would be something. Come on, you can't be real, Gothix. Come on. I just don't understand. Now I get why she's dodging these conversations. It's because there's not a real point to her. She's like, half the things she say don't make sense. And there's no one and it's better for your brand if you don't allow people to push back. Because in that way, you know, like your ideas get to like kind of go out there and the people that are already inside of your bubble will just agree with what you're saying. This is why those people dodge those things so frequently.
These people that are have these massive platforms, they're able to power through all of this hate speech. They are literally walking targets where they're constantly just getting bombarded with slander and videos and blog posts made after them, just like you're a terrible person, nonstop. How come they can manage to not skip a beat, go on with life, make lots of money, build a great following, and be happy from what I can tell, but others can't? Why is that?
It's not about whether or not like the hate speech is going to be debilitating. It's whether or not it can lead to greater harm. I don't know. This is a straw man. This is conservative special. It's the idea of like looking at like anything that we're talking about and then like talking about like being hyperbolic about what the effects of it are, so that you can dismiss it. No one's saying that like because people got hate speech that they're not going to be able to function or develop or any of those things. That's so stupid. What?
Don't call it survivorship bias, by the way. Yeah, I found this in my comments section, and what the hell is wrong with you? Survivorship bias. Okay, so let's reel this back because I'm going on a little bit of a rant for a second because I'm very passionate about this topic, and I hope that despite the way that I am delivering this information to you, I hope you realize that I am only trying to help you. I understand what it means to callous your mind and callous your build emotional maturity. I know what that's like. You know, if I compared myself to how I reacted to cancel culture back then, compared to now, it's night and day. And you know what? For the sake of just...
I don't really describe that as emotional maturity. She's just become incredibly apathetic. And I don't think that that's necessarily healthy. So I recognize that like dealing with the fighting game community for quite a while, like that community was incredibly toxic, and I had normalized a bunch of their toxicity. And for me, I think it finally brought home how much toxicity I had normalized when I was getting a bunch of hate and just kind of dismissing it and brushing it off my shoulders. And then different people like my family members or my band members, like they came to me and said things like, man, I don't know how you're dealing with all that. Are you okay? And they were so incredibly concerned. Now, I was not bothered by it because I just know this is just typical internet nonsense, and it's like, oh, whatever, I'm used to that. But the fact that they kept reacting that way, like different people just were so shocked and taken aback and were concerned for me, made me realize I had normalized toxic behavior, and it's just unhealthy. Now, does that mean that I'm going to break down because somebody says something about me? No, not at all. Like, but that doesn't mean that we should just normalize dismissing toxic behavior that's aimed at us. We have pain sensors in our body for a reason. You touch that stove, you learn not to touch it because you get burned, because it hurts. So it teaches you to avoid those kinds of things. In the same sense, hurt feelings can be indicative of someone's malicious intent. And so if we numb ourselves to all of the various harms and the various speech that are what we typically use to be indicative of the fact that people have like bad intentions or mean harm, if we numb ourselves to that, then that means we can continue to put ourselves in harm's way. So it's probably better that we don't just completely still our nerves to the point that we can't recognize when someone's being hateful. There's a reason that you need these sort of things. I've always said before that I was a really bad judge of character, and it has its problems because I was around someone who I genuinely believe is a pedophile, and I didn't recognize it. Whereas some of my more sensitive friends were like, hey, I don't trust this dude's a pedophile. And I just never could accept it. It didn't make sense to me. And lo and behold, eventually it was like, determined, oh, this dude and whatever, I cut him off. But the fact of the matter is, like, you need to be aware. You need to be able to have, like, if you remove sensitivity to certain things, it's just you're going to result in certain harms. That's the point.
Just proving my point, take a look at how I reacted the first time I had cancel culture come my way. This is me then.
Fucking took the one thing I loved away from me, which was streaming. Like, I love you guys. I really fucking love you guys, but like, I just don't feel myself anymore.
And this is me now.
No. So what happened was you actually successfully got canceled on some platforms. It seems like they took streaming away from you, and you recognize it hurt because it was something you invested in. It's something that you love to do, and they took that away from you. So that's what happened. Now you're not being canceled because I bet most people, like, you're not as big as some of the bigger things, and people have more hate directed at those big figures than you. And you've probably learned not to say some of the things that you originally said before that got you canceled. That cancellation isn't happening to you now, because if people successfully canceled you, you know what you can't say and what you can't do, the reason why you're not being canceled now. If you did something that was cancelable and it happened to you again, you'd be the same exact individual as you were then. Freak out of here. We see through this.
You ain't canceling shit. So
that's exactly it. You're on your platform, and that's why you don't feel that way. If your platform was removed, you would be the same individual. How are you comparing these two?
So this is what I'm trying to show you is it's a work in progress, but you can do it. You can overcome hate speech. And let me make this clear. When I say that we need to navigate around this barrier of hate speech, that's not me condoning people being assholes to one another. Don't get this confused. I am simply saying that you have to accept it. You don't have to like it. You have to accept it. The reality is that we are always going to be surrounded by people that don't like us, regardless of what the reasons are.
Sure,
I don't like you because you're black. I don't like you because you're gay. I don't like you because you're trans. I don't like you because of this. That is the reality. Now, it would be one thing to say that this type of rhetoric is preventing you from getting a job, or it's preventing you from furthering your education. Unless someone is explicitly saying, hey, yep.
There it is. There's that straw man. See, it's not doing this to you, so it doesn't exist. No, there's a definition for what it meant, and it does normalize hate.
Black lady, I'm not going to give you this loan. Now we have a problem. But if they're simply just saying, I don't like you.
What if that problem of you, the black person not giving you that loan, or that person not hiring you, is because of some of the negative stereotypes that have been revolving around different sorts of hate speech, like coming from like actual like people in power and people in positions of authority? Would that be problematic? Maybe that's what we're actually talking about. The normalization of discrimination and hatred towards individuals, which will then have cultural ramifications. I don't know how she's missing it.
You. Because you're black. By the way, here's your loan. Wait, I'm going to redo that. That was fucking stupid. Just to be clear, I am not laughing at that situation. What I'm laughing at are these ridiculous invisible barriers that people create. And what I mean by an invisible barrier is if you're saying that hate speech, for example, against black people is at an all-time high, and the hate speech somehow prevents people from going about their day and being successful and living their life, but then I show you a bunch of black folks that are seemingly immune to the hate speech. Now the question is, why can't this group of people do the same like this group of people? And why aren't those who are threatened by the hateful speech, why aren't those people seeking mentorship or coaching or guidance from those who are able to navigate around the hate speech?
So it's so stupid. It's like the idea, well, if oppression exists, then that means no one can succeed. What? That's so bad, right? It's like, oh man, this team cheated, but they still lost. So I guess they didn't cheat then, right? What? That's not how things work. You can't just look at the outcome and say, well, if the outcome was positive, then there were no negative impediments, right? Like sometimes people like achieve and overcome, right? Like if I'm playing my friend in a fighting game and his handicap happens to be higher such that he's dealing more damage to me, like unfairly, and I still beat him, does that mean that the match was fair? No, that's not how it works.
I find it ridiculous that we are acting as if hate speech is some type of a human right issue. It's not. People have the right to freely express themselves, regardless if I agree with what they say or not, because the alternative of selectively allowing certain people.
There's already limitations on speech all the time. You can't yell like bomb on an airplane. You can't yell fire in a freaking whatever. You can't like incite people to like to be violent. There's all sorts of things that we have like limitations on. And just because we have freedom of speech does not mean that you should be entirely free of consequences. Like that's not the way things work. And it's crazy to me because conservatives and Republicans are always talking about like the fact that like, yo man, we're believing in freedom of speech. Yet Donald Trump like decided that the people that were kneeling for the national anthem, which is the part of their freedom of speech, part of their free expression, he was saying that those people should be fired. He also talked about like having the flag burning, like having flag burning have like criminal like implications and be able to be punishable by like prison time and like super duper high fines. Yet that flag burning has literally been upheld by our freaking Supreme Court as an element of speech that should not be able to be punishable. So how can you be the advocate for free speech while simultaneously saying that you want to take away people's right to free speech? What the freak are you talking about? Yes, we believe in free speech, but we don't believe that people should be able to protest. And if police decide to like to disarm a group that are peacefully protesting, then at that point, then they should be allowed to do so. That's a form of expression. Why is it that you guys always want to have your cake and eat it too? Freak out of here.
People to say certain things will inevitably lead to tyranny. And let me just be clear that I am not.
Oh, and his new social media reserves the right to delete your account if you post things against the website on your account. Free speech, huh?
Saying that people should be allowed to get on a microphone and yell, I think that all trans people should die. That is wrong, and that's a threat. That is not protected under free expression or free speech. However, we've reached a point in society where disagreeing, having different opinions is considered acts of violence, and that is completely wrong, and we need to abandon that idea entirely. So I'll give you another perfect example, and I bring up the trans community a lot. I don't want it to seem like I'm picking on trans people, and the people that I know who are trans understand this, but let me help you out here. So for example, when I say trans women are men and trans men are women, that's not hate speech, that's a reality. When I say that there are biological differences between men.
Wait, but transness has nothing to do with biology, right? Isn't gender based on like attributes typically assigned to a given sex, but not the sex itself, not the biological components? See, you're intentionally being ignorant here.
And in women, that's not harmful rhetoric that's going to lead to violence, because remember, we have this thing called personal responsibility. That is also reality. And when I see people get upset about these types of comments and they conflate it to actual physical violence, it says two things to me. Number one, it says that you are weak, and I don't want you to be. I want you to be so mentally strong that anyone can call you whatever, use whatever incorrect pronoun. And
I swear to y'all, man, if Twitch like suddenly cracked down and like banned her for hate speech on this video, I would kill if she had another platform and she like broke down and started crying again in that. Like just to be able to see it, so to point out like the hypocrisy here. That would be so funny to me. I wouldn't want her to lose her platform. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like the irony of those things would be really, really funny to me.
And you'll be fine, because I know a lot of people that are fine. They're able to do it. So why can't you? I just want to help you realize your greatness and not regress and cower away every time someone says the wrong pronoun or every time someone dead names you or whatever.
I need you to hear me out. And again, back to the trans as an example.
I love it. Like, yo, other people can deal with it and they're fine. Why can't you be? What if you can be, but you still think it's a problematic thing that shouldn't be, that we shouldn't have to endure that kind of thing, right? I don't know.
Example, if you are transitioning, who are you transitioning for? Are you transitioning for the acceptance of other people? Because you're not going to get it. Or are you transitioning for you? Which I can respect. You want to transition for you? Okay, cool. Then the opinions of others will not matter. My opinion, saying, bro, you still look like a dude, should not prevent you from getting a job and making it in life and going on to live successful careers. The only person...
But if we find out that there are people who absolutely will discriminate just because you're trans, then at that point it does become a bit of a problem. This is... What are you saying?
Stopping you from doing that is you. Get out of your head. So really quick, I had to put a little edit in this because as I was rendering this video, I actually received a very angry tweet from someone who, I don't know if they are a trans person or if they are an activist or an ally for the trans movement, but they basically, they tweeted at me. They actually tagged me in this, which is pretty funny. And they said, I got 5 minutes into a debate that I had with some other commentator whom I'm not going to name because he can work for his views. But this person goes on to say that they were upset because I said during the debate that I am not obligated to use the preferred pronoun as someone requests. That is not a form of respect. That is a form of demanding assimilation.
So that's it. So she's very well aware of the game. So that's why she wouldn't mention that person's name. She knows what she's doing. I see it. It's crazy to me because these people are, I guess it is really cutthroat and I just don't have that in me. I'm always just going to be a transparent nigga that just does his thing and kind of stays in my own lane. I don't know. I think that's kind of dumb, but yeah, that makes sense now. So she is very conscious of why it's important for her not to have these debates and stuff. She is very, very conscious about probably about viewer count and things like that and deciding who she's willing to have on her platform or not. Like, I get it. So she is playing this game. That's why she's ignoring. I get it.
Demanding compliance. Why in the hell would I ever be obligated to refer to someone in the way that they want when I don't even know this person? And to tackle on top of that, we're completely ignoring the fact that some people do not subscribe to this idea of men transitioning to women and vice versa. So you're forcing your belief, your ideology onto another person when you say, you're not using the correct pronoun. Well, per my beliefs in biology and reality, if I see a man, I'm going to say, sir. If I see a woman, I'm going to say, ma'am. Regardless if they actually transition and they look good, whatever, that's besides the point. My eyes dictate what I see. And
so would she refer to Blair White as sir or she? I bet you she would go out of her way to say sir to Blair White.
And when people act militant in this manner, no, you need to use the preferred pronoun, otherwise you're a transphobe. I want you to think about this for a second. This person had no issues tagging me on Twitter to, I'm assuming, attempt to shame me and call me a transphobe. So you have no issues with being hateful. Clearly, because you're doing it yourself. It seems like you have it.
You think it's hateful to call someone a transphobe? So calling out somebody for doing something that you believe is hateful is automatically hateful in and of itself? Where's the logic?
When you hear something you don't like. So it's this selective outrage, which is why I continue to say that hate speech doesn't exist. What exists is your perception of what you want to be considered hateful. Because if you can get on Twitter and just yell at someone and call them a transphobe because they're refuse to use the correct pronoun, then don't gaslight me and say, I'm afraid of hate speech. No, boo-boo. No, boo-boo. You're personally offended. You have no issues with hate. You are offended. That's the difference. All right, I gotta go. I'm leaving. Bye-bye. The fact is, people will always be mean. This is life. No one is exempt from hate speech, if that's what you want to call it. There are lots of people that came before us that dealt with hate speech and they were able to overcome and move on and do amazing things with their life. They did it. They might have complained or maybe they didn't complain. I know lots of people that go through bullshit, lots of other content creators like myself, that they don't really complain about the hate, but you can see it in the comments, but they're still thriving. And I noticed in my last thread that I had a lot of people repeating almost like the same argument. And that argument was that
I hate to keep interjecting on the same point, but it seems like she's making the same point over and over and over again. That, oh, see, people are getting hate speech and thriving. No one's saying that you can't thrive because you got hate speech. That's not the point. Like, so just pointing out that somebody is able to thrive, notwithstanding, is stupid. It's like pointing out somebody in the Jim Crow era who happens to be successful. So then we get to say, oh, there's no oppression happening to black people. What? That's stupid.
If someone, let's say a black person, was working for a racist boss, it's not right that the boss is racist. No, I completely agree with you. In that case, you have two options. One, continue working for the racist boss to make sure that that racist boss pays your mortgage, or find another job. Start entrepreneurship. Oh, but not even...
Or we as a community can say that if there's a racist boss and we don't believe in discrimination and that the normalization of those kinds of things is incredibly harmful to a civil society, then we can decide, hey, you know what? Instead of just saying you need to go find another job or whatever, we can say that those sort of things are illegal. And if we find out that you're doing discriminatory practices, then we can fine you or like imprison you or take away your ability to have jobs so you're not harming our society. That's something that we could do too. There's a better option. I don't know. Maybe we have a Supreme Court for a reason, but I don't know. What do I know? I'm just living reality, right?
Everyone has the luxury to find another job. If you got fired tomorrow, you would have to find another job because your livelihood depends on it. You would figure out how to get that money because you don't have a choice. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I think this idea that we have to fall victim to hate speech is a crutch. It's an excuse that prevents us from thinking outside of the box. How bad do you want that money? How bad do you want that job? If you really need the money, you're going to go and you're going to work for this racist boss and he's going to call you all that stuff. You're going to work for him because you need the money. Or you also have the choice to leave, to find your own way, to build your own empire, like I am.
I guess so. We should empire crazy. So I guess we think that it should be normal and that you should be required to work underneath in conditions with a really terrible boss, right? Like you should have that. Like that's just, I don't know what the freak she's talking about.
Again, this is not me condoning hate speech. This is me accepting that hate speech is a feeling. That is a feeling that someone has, and you can't change the way that people feel, at least in the context of how social justice warriors try to do it today by slamming on their keyboard and yelling at someone. Again, I will reference Daryl Davis, the black man that was able to convince more than 200 KKK members to abandon their robes through conversation, through patience, and I believe music. I think music. And he did this by being patient. It took time because, again, we're dealing with people's feelings. You don't even like everyone, so why would you expect everyone to like you? Come on. So
we're not asking people to like you. We're just asking you to at least be respectful. There's plenty of people I don't like. There's plenty of things that I don't like, right? But I know I can at least be respectful, right? There are people that I don't get along with, but that doesn't mean that I now get to just be hateful and harmful to those people, right? There's still limitations. Oh, the freak she is talking about. Why does it feel like these people never make actual valid points, man?
Before I end this video, I just want to wrap this all up together and just leave you with my closing point. Yes, it sucks that people are mean and say transphobic or homophobic or racist things. It sucks. That's life. You can learn to accept it or you can learn to complain about it. That's life. Everyone goes through it. Everyone's overcome it for the most part, apparently.
Or you could do both. It's a false dichotomy. You can accept that this is just part of life and it's just the way things are, and you can complain about it.
But I want everyone to be able to be mentally strong enough where these words don't hurt them. Cancel culture in particular, I'm immune to it. You know why? Because
and yeah, you could do the third option, which I brought up earlier. You can actually create systemic barriers to people who want to participate in that sort of thing, and you can get rid of it.
Cancel culture is facilitated through slander, through harassment, through online bullying. It does not faze me. They have no power here. So that's my first point. And I also need people to recognize.
Well, they absolutely have power. I would never recommend people get involved in either that kind of brigading nonsense, but people could just like completely spam her account over and over again until it gets banned by the bots, and she can start losing revenue and losing her, like that happens. So there is actual real harm that can come from it. But fortunately, she's not saying anything that's egregious enough to get canceled yet. And YouTube seems like it's kind of the wild, wild west. They just let everything rock. So who knows?
That there is a difference between physical threats, physical acts of violence versus you disagree with me and you said something that hurts my feelings. If you are gay and there's a religious person that doesn't like gay people.
Yes, there is a very big difference between physical acts of violence and like people saying things to hurt your feelings, but no one ever said that hate speech was an act of violence. But just because hate speech isn't an act of violence doesn't mean it's okay. There's like a total difference between physical violence and then, I don't know, or like physical abuse and psychological abuse. Does that mean that psychological abuse isn't harmful because it's not the same as physical abuse? Like, sure, these things are different. What point do you think you're making here?
Well, okay, that sucks, but do you like you? That's all that matters. Because if we are not able to separate what is hate speech and what is actual violence, we're going to have a hard time understanding.
You're the only person that's not able to separate that. Whoever said hate speech, well, there's some people on Twitter that do say hate speech is violence, but it's not what's in the definition. That sounds stupid. I don't think most people think that hate speech is actual violence. That's just straw man nonsense.
Where the real threat is coming from. Because someone that says, I'm against gay people, I don't like gay people, I don't like trans people, these people might have more in common with you than you think. Who cares what they say? Focus on their actions. And in the reverse, you can consider the politicians that while they'll say all the nice and sweet and loving and caring things, they'll make policy to hurt the same people that they claim to care about. I think that's all I wanted to say about this, honestly. My main point was...
I wish he had some actual examples of that policy. I don't disagree. I think Bill Clinton, I don't know that he ever really... Yeah, Bill Clinton. I think he spoke as if he was an ally to the black people, and then he just completely destroyed so many things and so many... I don't know. He was like one of the most harmful presidents. I think, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are trash too.
Guys, we got to stop conflating differing opinions with harmful rhetoric. The only harm that is happening when you hear an opinion that you don't like, or you hear a word that you don't like, is the harm that you're doing to yourself by allowing you to react in a negative way. But yeah, that's my hot take for the day. And honestly, I don't think it's a hot take. I think it's just common sense. I really want you guys to be stronger. I really, really do. I hope you don't look at my smugness as a detractor from what I'm actually saying. I want you to be strong. Yeah, one hate speech thread at a time. My name is Gothix, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Again, even though her brain doesn't work, I think she's incredibly attractive. I think, yeah, and it's crazy because she's such a departure from what I typically am attracted to. But yeah, I think she looks good. I like it. I think she's attractive. Just her brain just doesn't work.